Hey, welcome back. We're going to get started to do the rim. The rim is a challenging one, to say the least, out of all the parts that for a car. The rim is also something that many of you will incorporate in, or at least the processes in your in some of your other parts too, especially revolves. So let's just jump right in. Sometimes we'll see how it goes. We're going to call it rim, all caps, of course. Travis. And here we go. So let's start off. We know we're going to do a revolve. And I want the front view to be the front of the actual rim. So I'm going to put the sketch on the right side for a change. So I did the sketch on the right side plane. I always like to turn off the visibility of the other planes. And I'm going to turn it to the right side. And there we go. I'm going to start with just a simple rectangle. Boom. Remember, if you're revolving it, you're only going to draw half of it, right? We know that. If we're going to revolve it, we only need to draw half of whatever it is we're going to need to draw. So let's take a look and see what this shape is going to look like. First of all, let's give some overall dimensions. The wheel itself, or I should say the rim, is 0.31. That's the measurement I achieved. And the total diameter is 8.2 or 8.5, 8.5, I believe. So we're going to do half of that. We can actually 0.5 divided by 2. There we go. Now to add a couple of features, we're going to cut out the front of this groove here. So we'll go here, and I'm just going to make a line there. Make sure it's horizontal. Make sure this one's vertical. And then I'm going to hit escape. And then I'm just going to dimension that. This groove, this opening, or this cylinder-shaped cutout that we're going to do has a height of 0.13, so the diameter, of course, would be double that, 0.26. And it should be from the back to this edge is going to be 0.2. So I can actually go through and trim out this point right here. I'm going to leave this one attached because it's going to keep it all in line with my origin. And the last thing I'm going to do is add this little arc. If you look carefully at your rim, the rim spokes, so to speak, actually come out a little further on a curve, out further than the side of the rim. So by adding that little piece, and I have it written down with a dimension of, I think it says 0.6. 0.6. Just a little bit of a rounded part to the front of it. So I'm going to get rid of that line because I don't need it. So you can either select and delete it, or you can go back and use your trim command to get rid of it. Boom, like that. So to keep it easy, we're going to start off with just a shape like that. The truth is, actually, while I'm here, I think I'm going to put the grooves on the top too. So I just did line, straight down, over, and up, because remember we're revolving, like so. That's going to give me that groove on the top. The depth of this thing is pretty shallow. I'll say 0.1, 0.01 maybe. That seems really shallow. I should check my dimensions again. Yeah, it says 0.01, so I guess if we double that, we'll leave it at that for now. And then from here to where it cuts in is 0.04. on the other side, from the edge to this line, or that point, is also 0.04. 0.04. Now I can use my trim button. Trim, 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 trim. There it is. Trim. Gone. So my first one that I did, I'd actually done a couple practice ones. I didn't put that in there, but it's probably just as easy to do it right now. It saves that step. So finish our sketch. We're going to do a revolve. Should be easily be able to pick up our profile. And then our axis is this line right here. Zoom, right around it goes. And notice it adds that, you can see how it adds that little groove on the top. I was going to cut that out afterwards, but hey, well, it's right here, I can do it. So there we go. Like so. Now, what I like to do next, I guess, is to turn around and we're going to do the back edge here. We're going to throw a sketch on this back edge. And we have a couple of circles that we're going to use to cut out. One comes way up like that. Notice they all have the same concentric center. That one goes in like that. Add a dimension. For some reason, I thought I had written down 0.78. You can always go back and change it if that's not quite perfect. And I'm looking at this one, and I look at it, and I believe 2.4. There we go. Finish that sketch. And we're going to cut out the back of it. Remove. And this step, according to my dimensioning, should be about 0.15. So we made the cutout in the back. Actually, that looks pretty big. But I better grab my measurement right here and double check my dimensioning. I have down that it's 0.3. What did I have it written down as? I'm going to go back and check it. Let's go back. Just double click on it. Oh, I did 0.4. 0.3. So you can always go back and just switch it around. Take a look at it. It's looking pretty good. I did notice this has a round over right here, a fillet on it. Kind of blends it up a little bit. So we're going to add a little bit of a fillet to it. It's a pretty small one, 0.05 maybe. Let's take a look. Oh, see how it blends it right up. What you don't want to do is cut it off. You want it to be the same length. Looks like that's cutting it off. Yeah, not by much. So maybe a 0.04. That's looking pretty good. So whatever we do, just realize it's never going to be perfect, and yours is not going to be exactly like mine. It's going to be a little bit different in some place or somehow. And that's not to be concerned. A little off is not a big deal. All I'm worried about is when it's so far off that the tire doesn't fit on it or something like that. That's the problem, right? So I threw a sketch on the back, and I threw a sketch on the back on purpose. I'm trying to find my way to the back here. Back, because I just want to cut out the center hole. And this is actually a critical cutout, because if you want your axle to attach properly, you got to make sure one is big enough and small enough to go over the axle peg that comes out. Finish my sketch. Extrude. Take that. Should go right through it. Oop, make sure you say remove. And there it goes. So you can see what we're doing. Now, for the most challenging part of all, is trying to set up this pattern that we have to cut out off the front. Now, because if you look at it, we put that curve on the front, makes it a little more difficult to cut out that pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a plane on just in front of that curve, and that way I can put my sketch on the plane and cut into it. So plane, and I'm going to come over and say on the front view, because I know the front view is going to be right on the front. So you can't see it very well, but what's happening is you can see it's right on this front view right here, and it's offsetting it out. Now, if I said point 1, let's see where that ends up. So that's too far out still. I want it to be right on this tangent point. Let's say point 0.02. And look at that. That's almost perfect. It's not quite touching, but it's fine. So I put a plane right on the very front. Why did I do that? So I can add my sketch to that plane. Then I can go in and start making my sketch. Now this is the challenging part. I played with this trying to get the right dimensions for a couple of different days, and hopefully it works out. So I start simply by drawing one line, horizontal, 0 degrees, like so. Escape. I'm going to draw a second line, escape. 2 lines. Now I want the lines to be 0.25. Oh, I like how they had made the other one 0.25 too. Let's just check it, see if it is 0.25. Close. 0.25. Now I'm going to make sure that they are at the proper degrees. So we need to have them at 22.5 degrees apart. That's calculated because we have 8 different segments, and this is going to be the center of one of those segments, which means they have to be a certain distance apart. So I'm going to put on the outside circle. Oh, look at that. Be careful when you do that. Look at, I don't have the same center. So when I put that on there, I didn't get the right center mark. You want to make sure you click on that and get the center mark that you want. That's happened to me more times than I have thought before. And then later on, when you actually go back and look at it, you're going, what's going on? Why is that like that? And that happens. Look at that, pretty close, 0.78. So I just put a circle on, I got a couple lines, and now I'm going to draw 2 lines. This one comes up to here, and this one comes down. This is going to form the little triangular shape cut out. Now these 2 are going to be at 30-degree angles, so I'm going to go dimension 30 degrees from this point up, and from here to there, 30 degrees. So we know they're evenly spaced. So now that I have that in place, I'm going to do a little trimming. I don't need this all the way out. I don't need this all the way out. I don't need this all the way out. I'm going to trim that line up. Oh, that's a dimension line. I didn't have to trim it. So that's good. So that's one part I'm going to actually be cutting out, this part right here. The second part, I'm going to do them all at the same time, is a circle that starts right there. Boom. Now, as you bring it out there, make sure it doesn't touch anything, so you're allowed to dimension it. And the diameter that I'm going to be using, and you may find yours is different, but the diameter that I used is a diameter of 0.15. 0.15, and then I'm going to make a couple of tangent lines. Line from, it's right on this edge right here. You may even want to go outside this. I'll go right on the edge. Boom. So as I bring it in, watch what happens. It comes in, it tells me that it's tangent. That's not tangent. Tangent would be that other symbol right there. Boom, that's a tangent line. So you want to make sure it's tangent. That means it's crossing off nicely. I'm going to make another line up here. Same concept. Bring it right on this side. Tangent. Oop. Back. I wouldn't even, as soon as you see tangent, drop it. Boom, right there. Now the dimension that we're working with here, and there are a couple of them, the dimension is from this point to that point, which is kind of an odd angle, should be 0.01. Pretty good. And then from this point to that point comes out, notice you're doing what they call a line dimensioning. Aligns it right, and that's going to be 0.3. Oh. I know, it looks like a mess. You got so many dimensions in there. Now, what we're trying to cut out is this shape here and this shape here, this triangle shape. So before we got all our lines in, so now we just got to go back and trim out. Just makes it easier for the computer to figure out what you are going to actually cut out or remove. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to get rid of this little space here. And I'm going to get rid of the space outside there. And there it is. I have the triangle, and then I have this little shape right here. Finish my sketch. Pretty complex sketch there. It zooms out. And now I'm going to do my extrude, remove. I'm going to pick sketch. Now, see, when you pick the sketch, a lot of times you get too much. So I'm just going to pick both of them. Now, if we go straight back, what happens is they cut off the back edge. So I decided to try a little draft. What's that mean? That means it's cutting back at an angle. And I don't want it to get bigger as it drafts back. See how this gets bigger? I want it to get smaller. So it's getting smaller as it goes back. So it's tapering in. And now I just got to go, okay, remove, merge all. And that looks pretty good. 1 inch doesn't really matter, right? So we make that one cut out. And see when I said draft, how it's the tapered just slightly? I think that looks better that way, actually. Now, if all my math worked out right, I should be able to do a circle pattern. But before I do that, I did a little fillet. And I mean little, 0.004 around this edge. That may be a little too little. I just thought it looked better with a little kind of fillet right there. 0.008. Let's see what that looks like. Nope, won't work. 0.005. That looks good. I'll try that. We can always change it. Now, for those of you who have anything that has a radial balance to it, this is going to be your key. I'm going to go back and turn the plane off. I don't need that right now. I just changed the visibility. And I'm going to go up to circular pattern. There's my circular pattern. So I have to pick what I want to, well, first thing, and this always messes me up, I have to go back and down say feature pattern. And then I go over here and I pick the extrusion, and I want to pick the fillets. Now it says let's select. Notice when it's blue, it's ready to select what you're going to circle pattern it around. See that? And we need 8 of them. And check. And we have a pattern for our rim. That's pretty close to the pattern. I don't know that it's perfect, but it's darn close. A couple of things that I do to help tweak it is up here, I like to put a little chamfer on here. Chamfer. I'll come in this corner right there. Because they're only 0.101 high, I can only do a 0.01 chamfer. Yep. Gives it that little chamfer look there. Not looking too bad. What you'll find though, as it goes back, it starts to kind of cut through there a little bit. Now, I would say the rim is good. I wouldn't bother doing too much more. What I ended up doing was adding a little bit of a line inside there. So to do that, I just selected that surface and I want to put a sketch on this surface, right? So then we go down and put a little circle, and I like to, it comes out about that far. Matter of fact, I got to go double check my measurements. Let's see what I wrote down for those measurements, if I did. 0.34, that's 0.68. Let's see if that dimension's right, or close to it. No, that's pretty big. 0.68. 0.68. Yeah, that's, I think that's way too far in. I know that's way too far in. I think we were closer on the first one there. So 0.72. I like that. 0.72. So we now we're going to do another circle. And this other circle has to be inside the surface. So, or you could actually match it up with that edge if you wanted to. As you see, you come and pick, and it should snap to that edge. I'll put it there and then I'll dimension it just to make sure I get it. That's 8.8. I have to make sure that doesn't interfere with that little groove on the top, but I think you'll be fine. Boom. Finish our sketch. And now this is another example where I'm going to be able to select the profile. So if you can't pick that single profile, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll go add, merge all, pick the sketch. And that just wants to bring the whole thing out. We want to go in 0.04. I believe that was right. Let's take a look at that. So it's coming my way, 0.04. And I'm going to do a second draft, and I'm going to go back the other way, 0.04. There's a little bit of a lip there. Matter of fact, I'm going to come in and just take a look at that and see if that looks right. Yeah. They came back too far, but what that does is when you go back and look at it from the front, you'll see that little line there comes around the inside. And that is just about the rim. Now, if you want to do some tweaking, not necessary, but you certainly can. I added little fillets right here because it blends in. 0.02, I believe. See how it blends the edges in, cleans them up. You could even go a little more, actually, 0.03. That's going to take some time, of course, because you have to go back and pick every single one of those edges. So I go back and open it up, pick that edge, and pick this edge, and keep going all the way around. So it's one of those things I think just makes it look a little better. Okay. Bounce it around. You can just make sure you just grab that corner right there. And you could tweak it a little bit, go back this way. Oh, wrong way. Yeah, see the angle's not right there. Got some more here. Bingo. There. Down here. I'm trying to get them all at the same time, which could prove to be difficult. But I mean, I guess you can come back and add to it later. Oop. Check. And that looks like a rim to me. So I'm going to go back over here, rename it. Rim, all in caps, of course. And then for appearance, has a metallic look to it. So I played around with some of the whiter colors, some of the lighter, whiter colors. Let's see how that looks. What really looks neat is if you take away the lines, shade without edges, gives it a little more interesting look to it. But all in all, that actually went pretty well and a little faster than I thought it was going to go. So good luck on your rim, which is probably the most challenging of all the parts. And if you have any questions, as always, just send me an email or share. You can always share it with me. Share it, leave a comment, and you'll be good. Have a good day. Good luck.